All right, so everyone that's here, thanks for doing this 8:30 in the morning. Um, I guess you've all probably been doing a lot of these over the week. I have not. So hopefully this is going to kind of work. Uh, what do I want to say? I guess I'll just kind of get going. I'll just wait. Two more people messaging me, so just wait just one more minute. Okay, so I guess I might as well go ahead and get started with this. So, again, thanks. I kind of hope this whole thing works the way I hope it's going to work. So, I guess I'll go ahead and kind of get started saying what I'm going to say. So, starting economics, starting macroeconomics. I kind of want to tell you how I'm going to do this because I think I might do this slightly different than what the textbook, order does. I kind of want to get like a kind of just a big overall understanding about things and then go deeper with each individual piece. So here's the problem that happened with macro. You have a whole bunch of things happening at the exact same time. And we can't teach everything at the exact same time. So it's difficult to see the whole picture until you've kind of got to the end. It's a struggle every year trying to get through that. So I just want to get these big general ideas first, and then kind of go deeper with each one. So this, however long it's going to take this morning, these are the kind of things I want to get through. I have my little pen here, and I hope it's not too loud. I was playing with it last night and it makes a lot of noise, but I can touch this and hopefully it doesn't make a lot of noise. Here's kind of the pieces I want to do. So goals, there's my goals where I want to go this way. Okay, so step one about this, I don't want to just spend a whole bunch of time just kind of like here's these and going over them, but just a couple of key points about all these things. So every country has different goals. Every country, has the things and objectives that they want to do. So what we do is we try to simplify it into this list that's kind of easy to look at. And these top 4, 5-ish things, every country to some degree is trying to do this. I just want to kind of mention a little bit. This first one, full employment, it's kind of simple. The whole thing is you want people to have jobs, right? That's the idea. For now, the key thing to understand is some people have jobs, some people don't have jobs. You want everyone to have a job. It's pretty much impossible for everyone to have a job at the exact same time. There's always somebody saying, I hate my boss, I'm going to quit, or some problem that's happening. So we're going to go through all those pieces and give labels to everything. But a key thing to pay attention to and always remember that roughly 5% unemployment is considered a good number. That's considered full employment. Full does not mean 100% have jobs. Full means about 95% have jobs, give or take. Some countries, 5% is a bad number. Some countries, 5% is a good number. It's just kind of an average to kind of work with. So that's easy. The second one about stable prices. This is a huge topic that we'll spend a long time to talk about. And so inflation is a massive, massive part of all of this. We'll take probably a month just to talk about inflation, basically. Every country wants to have stable prices. Stable does not mean zero inflation. In fact, if you had 0% inflation, That, hey, look, I read, that is a bad thing. We want some amount of inflation, just a little bit. And 2% is the goal for most countries. That number changes. Different countries have different numbers, but in your head, you can kind of just figure 2%, that's good enough. That's a typical goal for most countries. So we'll talk about what that means and all those kind of things. But we want to keep prices stable. Doesn't mean low. Doesn't mean like don't change. We just want to manage that change. Third one, economic growth. I don't have to explain that, right? It's just these numbers. If you're a developed country, 3% growth, that means every year your economy grows about 3%. That's pretty good. That's the goal for most countries. If you're a developing country, 3% is actually kind of a bad thing. That's kind of low. So that number will change depending on your country, but just something to kind of just have in your mind, like 3% is kind of the goal for most countries. In China, 6-7% is the goal. That's not going to happen this year. That's been happening every year, basically since you guys have all been alive. And boy, with this virus, it's going to take a hit pretty hard and it's going to fall. And that's going to be a tough thing China's never gone through in your lifetime, or really my lifetime. So we'll talk about what those numbers mean, but these numbers, roughly 5%, roughly 2%, roughly 3%, that's a good estimate overall. Balance of payments, that's a huge topic as well. That will take most of grade 12, actually. That's almost like half your year. So we can kind of put that off to the side at the moment. Same thing with inequality. I don't think we have to explain it. Inequality is bad. Don't destroy the environment. We'll just kind of leave it at that. So there's those major goals. Here's what I want to say about those. Here's the major problem when it comes to doing these things is they're tough to manage all of them at the same time. You have these balls that you're all holding up, trying to do all of them at the same time. But whenever you do one, it has an impact on the other. So, I have this red dot here, I have this goal here. And this goal, it's connected to that goal, and it's connected to that goal, which is connected to that one and connected to that one. But this one is connected also to that one, and connected to that one, and connected to this one. And this one over here is connected in a different way, and that's connected in a different way, and that's connected over there. This has a slightly different connection over there. Like the whole thing is they're all connected to each other in kind of difficult ways. I'm gonna get rid of all that. Here's the problem that happens. And when you're first learning this, it can be overwhelming at first. But here's the idea. Let's say we have this goal here. See this red one? This red one is too small. We want to increase it. So we want to focus on this goal, make this goal bigger. Let's say it's jobs, for example. But whenever you do that, that's going to have an impact on this one, which might make it smaller. It might have an impact on this one, which might make it bigger, which has an impact on this one, which has an impact on this one, which might make it smaller. So now you have a different problem. Now you go, oh my God, this orange one, we need to fix it. We need to make this one bigger. But if you do that, that's going to then make this one smaller over here. It might make this one even bigger than before, too big. And then this one over here gets really, really tiny. So then you look at it and go, oh no, I need to fix this problem. Let's reduce this one, which now this one over here becomes too big. This one over here maybe gets smaller. I don't think I can make it smaller. Or maybe this one gets smaller. So here's the point. Is when you're trying to do these goals, you end up hurting one of the other goals. You end up you solve one problem, you make another problem. So you're constantly trying to balance these things. So these numbers that we have up here, 5%, 2%, 3%, that's pretty good estimate. But when you try to tackle one, you're going to hurt the other one, and vice versa. So that's a major problem with this. Here's how this semester is going to kind of go. So here's a problem. You have all of these happening at the exact same time, but we can't learn all of them at the exact same time. I can't teach you all 5 at once. So you learn one by one by one. So you learn all this stuff about let's say the red one here, and you kind of get it, okay, but you don't really see how it connects to purple over here very easily. There's little echoes a little bit connected to there. So it's tough to kind of see that part. So you learn about the red one, and you see, yeah, it connects over here a little bit. There's a little connection there, and a little connection there. Maybe something to purple. You don't really know. And then you start learning about orange next. And then, okay, that connection becomes much stronger. You understand that. And you can see how it connects to there and how it connects to there a little bit. But again, you can't see the whole picture yet. And then you start learning about green and say, okay, now this makes more sense here. Now I can understand that better. But then there's this other connection that's happening here. And so we run into this problem of you're trying to learn it, and at first you kind of get it, but you don't see the whole thing. You learn a little bit more, and then it teaches you more about the thing you learned before. So by the time you get to green, you say, oh, okay, I can see now a little bit more about red, which I didn't understand before. So you really don't get the whole picture until you've learned the whole thing. That's kind of a big trouble with macroeconomics, trying to piece these things together. With this class, here's the other problem. To be able to talk about all 5 of these goals, it's going to take more than just one semester. It's also going to take most of grade 12. So kind of what we do, because there's summer kind of ruins things, right? So this topic here, we kind of save towards grade 12. This topic here, we kind of save towards grade 12. So what happens is we learn about these topics, and then we kind of stop right here at this, and then we start learning about trying to solve all these problems. The issue with this is you've only stopped right here, and you can understand these, but you don't see these connections. This connection is harder to see because we haven't really learned about these other circles yet. So it's just kind of the way the course is designed, where you get a pretty good picture about the whole thing by the time you end here at grade 11, but there's this gap here that you miss that you pick up till next year. So I want to say that going forward, understanding that basic problem that happens. It's mostly complete, but there's that. Okay, so goal 1, kind of done talking. My next thing I want to talk about is this graph here. I've showed this graph several times in class. I will show it many, many more times in class. This will be kind of a key model that I will use a lot when I talk about things. So far in class, with microeconomics, we saw, look, this is demand, right? This is supply over here. And there's this graph, and we dissect this graph and go into all the different pieces of the graph. You talk the market structures, all externalities, all that stuff. That's really, really all about this market here. And everything that's happening in this market also happens on the other side. It's just that now demand is, the people that were suppliers or demanders over here, people that were demanders or suppliers over here, etc. So when you look up, you Google the circular flow, when you Google this thing, this is really almost every single picture you ever see is just of this. This circle here is the main circle. The whole point is this circle. So it kind of frustrates me because you Google circular flow and that's all it shows, and it's missing a lot of these other big pieces. But that is the main core part. Getting to macro, we're going to go through all these other pieces. So we kind of gone through the goods and service market. Now we got to get through kind of these other pieces. So what I want to do right here is put some vocabulary on top of a couple of these things, some key important things, because again, I will use this idea over and over and over and over. So I want to start here. I'm a little guy right here, Mr. Household. Let's say that's you. Now, in this circular flow, in the economy, what you want to buy stuff, you sell your labor, you buy your stuff, but you have money. I want to start with this idea of money. With money, you really have 3 things you can do with money. The difficult part about this graph is it's hard to graph time. And time is a big connection to all of this. So with my 3 choices of money, I have 3 things I can do. I can spend it, right? I can save, I can spend it buying stuff. That's option 1. Option number 2, I can give that money to the government, right? Because in taxes. Or option number 3, I can spend this money later. I can save it. So my other option is I put money over here in the bank. This is one of the first key vocabulary words. It seems kind of obvious, but it's really key to make this distinction. When you're putting money in the bank, we're going to call that savings. Obvious, right? It's not called anything else. If you call it something else, you might cause yourself a problem. A lot of times in economics, you might have similar vocabulary that means the same thing. In this context, with this, savings means a specific thing and only this thing. When you put money in the bank, you're saving money. Now, why are you putting money in the bank? Because you want to spend it later. You can either spend it today in the circle, or you can spend it later, taking it out of the circle and putting it in the bank. So simple enough. Now, we're going to spend a long time, again, also talking about banks. Connected to this idea of inflation is all about banks. What do banks do with your money? They give it to somebody else, right? This is the most important thing I want to say about this graph, because it's the biggest problem that kids come across. When you're a bank, you take people's money, and then what you're going to do is you're going to give it to somebody else. You're going to give it to these firms, because these firms are going to borrow that money and use that money to make the circle bigger, right? This is called investment. That I can't spell. Oh my God. Where's my eraser? There it is. I can't stress enough how important this is. It's investment, but not just investment. It's investment. Investment spending. This is a really important thing that when you talk about this or write about it, you have to use vocabulary correctly. This is the only time in this circle we're going to call this investment. The word investment has lots of meanings in English. You can use it in lots of different ways. You're going to cause yourself problems in this class with the word investment. It will drive you crazy later. But the word investment, it's only going to be used in this context. It's not money that's being saved. It's money that's being spent. I want to repeat that again. When you're investing, you're not saving money. You're spending money. Or if you're the firm, you're spending somebody else's savings. Super key point about that. Where should I go next with that? Well, I guess I'll finish this circle. So there's your basic economy. We're going to talk about banks and how banks deal with this. One other thing to kind of get to. So this part of the circle really are these things. You're going to be able to talk about employment here and stable prices and economic growth, these three circles within context of these circles. However, there are these other circles here, particularly this key thing here that we haven't got to, and we'll mostly get to next semester, but should be connected here because you can't see the whole picture without it, is this idea of the rest of the world. When you buy stuff in the goods and service market, you buy it from a firm, but you could also be buying stuff from other people. And those firms in your country, well, they're also selling to other people in other countries. And how are they doing this? By, well, trading money back and forth. So it is important to talk about exports and imports in this. We won't go into that much detail about it yet, but that is kind of a key thing. Oh yeah, and the rest of the world here, not only can they buy your stuff, they can also save money in your bank, which is going to be called investment. Just kind of an annoying thing. So what other words I want to add to this? I want to add this. This yellow circle, this is the key core economy. The whole goal is to grow this economy, make this thing go bigger and bigger and bigger. This idea of time is a key component. I kind of made this messy, but I'm going to do this. Do it like this. Notice this circle, it's all about stuff. I'm gonna label it stuff. Blue is stuff moving in this direction. The physical, actual things in your economy that are moving around. And then, yeah, the foreigners can also add and take away stuff in your economy over here. But to make that happen, you need money. So that money is being turned around, helping to move that stuff around. When we're measuring the economy, we're going to measure this money that's in there. And so the whole idea is to make this circle spin. But when you're saving money, what you're doing is you're taking money out of this system and putting it over there. It's going to have a particular, we're going to call that leakage in this model. So vocabulary words to kind of add to stuff later. Whenever money is leaving this system, it's a leakage. So you're putting money into the bank. That means you're not spending money today. So this circle, yellow circle today gets smaller. If you're giving money to the government is technically not in this circle. They're not part of the main economy here. We're going to put them off to the side a little bit. So if you give money to the government, that means you're not spending the money. Money is being leaked away. If you're spending money over here and buying imports and exports, that's also money leaving this circle. These things are called leakages. So anytime money, the green part, is leaving the circle, it makes the amount of blue in the economy particularly smaller. But over time, that money comes back in. We call injections. This key idea of investment spending. So you take money, put it in the bank. A firm is going to take that money and from the bank and put it back, put it back in there, which is an important thing that happens. The government, they're going to take your money and put it back in there, which is an important thing. And same over here buying foreigners. So things are moving around. So here's kind of an example. Let's say you have savings and you put $100 in savings in the bank. You have now just leaked out $100 in the economy. There's $100 less in the economy, less money available to move that circle around. If the firm takes your $100 and spends it in investment spending, then they've just injected $100, which means nothing's really changed. The circle is still going. You took money out, someone else took your same money, put it back in, no problem. Problem is that's not always how it works, because over time, you got to add issues. They don't always take all 100. Sometimes they might only take 50 an investment and put it back in. And if that's the case, the amount of leakages is higher than your injections. And so money today is going to be less in the economy. It also could be the case that they add even more. It could be the case, like say government, for instance. Government, they're going to take money away from you. They're going to take, let's say they take 100 away from you in taxes. That's money left. If that government spends all 100 of it, fine, no problem. The money goes back in, not a big deal. Leakages and injections equal each other. But if the government's looking around and saying, you know what, the economy's not good enough. We need to grow the economy more. 100 is not enough. We want to spend 150. That's great. That means you're increasing the amount of injections in the economy today. But here's where this time issue comes up. And this comes with Keynes and Hayek talking about this is, well, the government's going to spend extra money. Where are they getting it from? They have to borrow it. They have to go into debt. And today that might not be so bad because you're growing the economy. But tomorrow, you won't be able to spend that money. So next time you take 100 taxes from someone, now you only have 50 left to spend because you have to pay back the other 50. And so in the future, your injections become smaller. So you have to consider all those things with time. So here's I think where I want to kind of focus. Let me go back to orange. We're going to graph this stuff with supply and demand models. And we're really going to graph the green, where the money is going. And so I'm going to talk about this particular thing over and over and over and over again. But couple of key points here. Again, this is super important that it's called investment, but it's called investment spending. It's money going back into the circle. And over here with demand, this is what we call, spending. Just regular, good old-fashioned spending. Consumption spending, which I'll just use a C. So this part of the circle here is super important because this is really what makes the whole thing go at the same time. Another really big important part is you're going to buy exports and imports from other countries. So they're going to add to the circle and take away from the circle. That's a really big key part. And then also the government is taking your money and doing stuff with it. So these 4 parts of the circle are going to be massively important when you're trying to turn this into a graph. So investment, please don't mix up this word. This I is key. Okay, so fun morning, right? So there's that. I hope that one kind of puts together. Now here's how I want to do it. I want to put all this stuff together like this. What color do I want to start with? I guess red. This is kind of the last thing I want to say, kind of putting this all together. Again, I'm kind of giving you, here's an overview, here's these important models, here's these basic ideas, and then we're going to, once you kind of got that general idea together, then it's like, okay, let's focus on one, keep going forward. Stop, focus on the other one, keep going forward. Stop, focus on the other one, keep going forward. So it kind of doesn't totally fully make sense until the end. It's just kind of the process. So I want to give this kind of overview of like, here's all the pieces put together, all of these main models, here's what they're doing. At this point, I'm not going to tell you really why they're doing this. It's just like, understand this is what's happening. And then we'll go into each piece later and kind of see like kind of why. So you know the circular flow model, I hope. You know the business cycle model, I hope. I want to use these 2 models. Can I can somehow. I guess that'll work. Yeah, so this model. Understanding the investment is kind of a key point at the moment. Understanding all these different pieces. We're going to use it, take this model and turn it into a supply and demand graph over here. But also understanding that it connects stuff here over time. So I want to really connect these 3 big models together. And this model here, you already know it. So I want to try to combine these 3 as well, try to put the whole thing together, hopefully. So let's do this. Go away. Okay, so I have this circular flow here. And the circular flow, why can't I do it? That's not, I wanted, that's a shame. No. Okay, how about this? Copy, cut. Why did you do that? Paste. Bummer. Oh well. I'll just have to deal with it like this then. So this circular flow model, we're trying to get this economy going. That's the whole idea. And the economy can get, that's not what you're supposed to do. The economy can get bigger and the economy can get smaller. I wanted to just move this one, but I guess that's all I can do. It can get bigger, it can get smaller. It's kind of hard to put time on that model. So I'm going to bring it down here and this model down here, where I'm going to measure time and growing the economy. So in the short run, things can be pretty good, things can get worse. Things can go pretty good, things can get worse. Things go up and down. That's our short run. Put over here. Right, we got that kind of already. I want to also draw that over here on this model here. in the short run, things go up and down. We're also going to be measuring this, saying, okay, there's a growth, there's our time, but then also these things. We want to look at employment. So one of those goals, I want to put that one right here with GDP. But also one of my goals here is also stable prices. So I'm going to put that right there and put those on a graph. I'm going to say over time, as the economy goes up and down, you have a supply. The short run aggregate supply. Again, this is one of those things we'll go deeper talking about it, but I just want to make this point right here. Saying, look, as things go up and down, as the economy increases, this gets bigger and smaller. This thing over here will also increase and decrease. So the economy here, GDP, as it gets smaller, the economy shrinks. As it gets bigger, which fine, as it gets much bigger, the economy gets bigger. So that's graphing that there. That's annoying. Okay. At the same time, we really want to kind of look at things in the long run. So Keynes really focusing on the short run. Hayek really focusing on the long run. And Hayek would look at this and say, on this growth model of time, you can average out this short run. And you end up with an average that kind of looks something like this, where the economy slowly grows over time, but it's kind of a straight line. Yes, things can go up, things can go down, but this kind of smooths out. This idea in the long run, it's very, very, very similar as this idea here on the PPC. The idea is saying, look, this is the best you can do, and that's using all your resources generally, and that's where you're at. Now, on the PPC, it's impossible to be on the outside of it, right? It's not a perfect representation. It's pretty close, though. On this long-run business model here, on the agri-supply, agri-demand model here, it's kind of the same as looking at long run and saying, this is your economy in the long run. This is your long-run aggregate supply. Here's a key reason why they have this shape. If you're a Keynesian person, you're looking at this and saying, you know what, money can leave this system, money can go into this system. The government here can actually borrow money and really increase and decrease this system. So you want to grow the economy, the amount of money you have really can impact it. So this over here, we're measuring price level, which is measuring really inflation here. And we can say, you know what, the amount of the economy, the amount that it increases will have a big impact on the price. So you want to grow your economy, prices go up at the same time. There's a connection there in the short run. Long run guys, they look at this and go, that doesn't make sense. In the long run, it's not about money. It's about stuff. The whole idea here is to have, whoops, I want to use this color. The whole idea here is to have more blue, more blue, more blue, more blue. That's the goal. And yes, green has a big impact on making the amount of blue. But you know what makes more blue? Factors of production. It's this. That's the only way you're going to get more blue, is by having, well, more blue. Green is just simply there as a way to move the blue around. In the long run, if you have more money, you don't have more stuff. So think about this. Right now, we have our prices, we have money. What if Jack Ma decided today to give every single person in China $1 million? I don't know why it's dollars, say RMB. He has enough money, he can do that. He's so rich, he can give everyone in the country 1 million RMB and still be richer than everybody. Does that mean the economy suddenly is way better? No, it just simply means prices are higher. It doesn't mean you actually have more stuff. It just means you have more money. So the long run guys, they argue over here. This economy, if you want to increase this economy, it has zero connection with prices. If you have more money, you just simply have more money. And that causes inflation, which is terrible. They kind of looked at it and said, the only way you can grow this economy right here is to grow your factors of production. So they're going to look at this model and say, in the long run, it's a perfectly straight up and down graph. So that's kind of a key point of that. One last thing to add, I guess, what color should I make? I guess blue. No, I want to go orange. So orange, I want to erase this orange, but I can't without erasing everything else. Whatever. I said back over here, that big mess that's there. There's a couple of key points we want to talk about. One of them is here, this consumption part. Buying and selling, doing all the normal economy. We also want to focus on this I part, the amount, the investment in the economy, because that definitely will impact the size of the circle. We also want to know what government is doing in this. This is a big thing, how government's spending your money. Oh yeah, and don't forget about exports and imports. Other foreigners, increasing and decreasing your economy. These four pieces, we're going to connect these together, and we're going to call this the demand in the economy, aggregate demand. So we're going to go deep into all those things, but right now I just want to say, like, here's how these things kind of connect together. So putting this together, I'm going to use orange. Here's kind of the idea. Let's say our economy today, right now, at this time, is right here at point B. So our circular flow, things are average, things are fine, things are normal. Our economy is growing at a normal clip, just a regular, everyday, boring economy. Being at this point here is kind of the same as saying I'm at this point right here. You're basically doing everything that you can. You're growing. You're doing your normal thing. That's kind of the same idea, which is kind of the same idea of saying you're right here, where everything equals each other. Everybody's happy. The economy is just normal, regular economy. So let's say there's a virus that everybody's afraid of, and so everybody stays at home and doesn't go out and buy things and doesn't go to work, and the economy has this problem. So now this circular flow starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because people aren't buying stuff. People are not going out and investing. People are not buying exports. We're not doing those things because we're all stuck at home because there's a stupid virus killing people. So that's kind of like saying that you're here on your economy, here at point A. You're below your potential. You're not doing what you can, which is kind of like saying, very, very similar as saying, I'm right here on your economy. You're not doing the best you can. You have unemployment. You're using all your resources the best your ability you can. So people are not buying stuff. People are not buying exports. The government's not doing its normal thing. People are not investing because there's a virus killing people. You're not going to go out and buy a Ferrari and build new things when you're stuck at home. So that means aggregate demand has fallen. That's not probably the best place to put that. I'm just going to not label that just to make this easy. So aggregate demand has fallen, which is kind of the same as saying exactly this. You're here at point A. Make sense? I guess, if you're paying attention or not. So last one then, let's say your economy is taking off. The government says, let's solve things. Let's make this bigger. And this thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Things are going great, which is kind of the same as saying you're right here, which on this graph is kind of the same as saying you're right here. Now, you're going to look at this, I hope, and look at it and say, but wait a minute, you can't go outside your PPC. That's ridiculous. And I would say, yes, you're right, but it's not a perfect relationship. It's just kind of a general idea. You actually can go outside your PPC. You know how you can do it? Well, your PPC is this yellow circle that I'm drawing over and over and over and over and over. There, that's your economy. That is what your PPC is supposed to be about. But you can buy exports and imports, and that can add injections into it. Might not last forever, but it can happen. Those foreigners can also put money in your bank, and if they put money in your bank, now they can add investments. More money in the bank, with more firms can take it out. So you actually can technically go above it. The government can borrow money and spend even more money. They don't have to take it all from taxes. They can go borrow from someone else. So you kind of can go beyond your PPC. The point is, it doesn't last forever. It's difficult to do forever. The government can't borrow money forever, forever, forever. Someday they have to pay it back. So you kind of can be outside of it. So you're buying more exports. Foreigners are adding stuff in your economy. They're adding money, which adds investment. Your government is borrowing money. So you can be saying aggregate demand is kind of here. So being here is kind of the same as saying you're right there. Does that kind of make sense? Now this aggregate demand, aggregate supply model over here, that's next week, and we're gonna use it over and over and over. Right now, I just wanna say, look, there's these pieces to it. They kind of connect to these ideas that we have here. Understand that. You don't know why yet, you don't know all the pieces, fine, but at least you kind of get that basic idea. One last thing to try to kind of put it all together is this, back to this. We have this goal of having full employment, stable prices, economic growth. You can kind of see all that here. So our goal, what color should I use? Let me find a different color, because I have all these colors. How about, ooh, sparkly, no, it's just brown, because sparkly is going to be difficult to see. So, not that one, this one. Economic growth, I want to grow the economy. And the idea is this right here. Yes, you want to grow the economy over time. You can either grow it kind of average, or you can go above, or you can go below. But we're trying to grow the economy at some particular rate. That 3% rate, you can show over on this graph and say, if everybody's doing fine, normal, average, the economy, this is growing at about 3%, more or less. And then that also connects with employment. If your economy is growing at 3%, unemployment is about 5%. So on this graph here, you can say this GDP, you can also say, you know, this is about unemployment. And at this 3%, it's roughly, I'm gonna erase the 3% and call it 5% unemployment. And basically, if you're right there, you're on your average, and you're doing pretty good. Now we also have this goal of inflation of about 2%. Key one there. We can draw that over here. So instead of saying price level, I can just change that and say this is like about inflation. And at this point, oh, I got rid of orange. That's a bummer. Let's get rid of green. Go back to orange. At this point here, at point B, inflation is roughly 2%. So we have our 3% growth that we're goal here. We have about 5% unemployment and about 2% inflation, and everybody's happy at point B. Your economy is doing basically what you want it to be doing in the long run. In the short run, it can go lower, it can go higher. On this model, again, understanding why this happens will be for later, but I want to show this key relationship that happens. When your economy goes bad, so you're at point A, you have a virus killing everything, the circular flow is getting smaller. You're not using your resources the best you can. You're at point A here. You have unemployment here, which means at this point, you have unemployment. So the amount of people who don't have jobs increases. So instead of having 5% inflation, let's say you have 8% inflation. 8% unemployment. And as this one it's going up. When it goes this way, it's actually unemployment. Unemployment is increasing. And what tends to happen at the same time is, well, here at point A, inflation tends to go down. Let's say 1%. There's this kind of clear connection that happens. So your yellow circle here is getting smaller. I got rid of green again. I want green. Green. Your yellow circle over here, the circular flow is getting smaller, which means the amount of money that's here is getting smaller. Can I just erase the green? Nope. Look, I'm erasing green. I'm only erasing green. See, my amount of green is smaller than before. That's a clear connection that happens. Same thing what happens is if you're growing this economy, things are going good again. The only way you can have more blue moving around this economy is you need more money to do it with. And so if your economy is doing fine, you're growing much, much better here. You're outside your PPC, you're way up here, unemployment gets smaller, let's say 3%, which means more people have jobs. But at the same time, you cause inflation, let's say 5%. And that's a terrible thing. So this graph is trying to help show you, is like, you look, you have all these goals here. These three is really what we're going to kind of focus on right now and kind of ignore the other two for now. But whenever you're doing these three, you want to make one smaller or bigger. Hey, what's that? I want this stuff. I want to make that one bigger. Oh no. All that. Oh no, I just got rid of my thing. Oh, you get my point. You just, if you make this one bigger, you just made this one smaller. You make this one smaller again, now you just made this other one bigger. And it's kind of hard to balance all of them at the exact same time. So recap. Okay, so these things have relationship to each other. These pieces of the circular flow, understand some of those key points and connect them all together. So we have these goals. Really going to focus on these three goals. These other two here, big goals, but we can save them for G12 because they're big goals and it's going to take too long. So we have those goals. But the problem is when you try to have these goals is they're hard to balance all of them at the exact same time. You make one bigger, you make one smaller. So showing all this over here, oh my gosh, that's so much stuff. Can I just erase it all? No, I don't. I guess not. So, no, I think I have to because recapping is great. Go away. Go away. I just totally ruined my very quick, slow. Okay. Now I lost my track. So this is your economy. This big thing here. That's the key point. But you have to worry about things over time, because when you say spend money over here, that means you're not saving money. But if you don't spend money here, you're saving over here. You're taking money out of the system. And if you give money to the government, you're taking money out of the system. It's not always a bad thing, because the government might put that money back in. But they might not put in the exact same amount that they take out. They have to worry about paying back old debt. So that's kind of a difficulty there. But when you put money in the bank, that's not necessarily a bad thing for this, because someone else is going to take it right back out and they're going to use it to spend on other things. So this bank helps manage this thing. They help figure out who should have the money to help grow the economy. Don't forget about this. This is called investment, this part here, but it's called investment spending. In this class, from here on out, forever, the word investment does not mean saving money. The word investment means spending money in this circle. Really, really key thing. So you could be spending money as a person over here, or you can save it. But your savings is going to be spent by the firm. And the government will take money away from you, but that's okay if they put money back in. So we keep the circle going. Oh yeah, and then there's the rest of the world over here, buying exports and imports from them. So that money can leave the circle or enter the circle over here by exports, which I'm going to call NX, net exports, exports minus imports. And the rest of the world, they can put money in your bank too, which then can go into I. So those are all key things. So understand that the yellow circle is important. If you're using, if you're the green and you're taking money out, taking money out, taking money out, those are leakages. But the government can take it out and put it right back in, injection. Firms can spend it right here, put it right back in, injection. They can buy your exports over here and put it right back in, injection. So they don't always match out perfectly, but that's the process. And then, whoo, boy, this circular flow, when it gets smaller, point A. When it gets bigger, point C. When you're average, when you're doing everything as happy as you can, point B. Very, very similar over here in the PPC model. Look, oh my God, the economy's not doing that great. Oh my God, look, the economy's doing super awesome, maybe too awesome. And at point B, that's pretty much where you want to be. So adding it to this big model, point B is really where you want to be. Your goal is to have 2% inflation, about 5% unemployment, which means you're growing your economy at about 3%. These things can adjust. If you want to make it bigger, that's good. You can have more people having jobs, but the trade-off is now you have more inflation, and that might be a terrible thing in your country. If the economy gets worse and you have more people who've lost jobs, that's terrible, that's hard, but it also reduces inflation. And so you have to ask yourself in your country, which one of these things is the most important thing? Because you might have some crazy thing happening. Let's say there's a virus it's not killing people, but it's killing pigs. And everybody in your country really likes to eat pigs. So those pigs all kind of die. So then you have a supply and demand for pigs. What happens to the supply of pigs? It decreases, right? Which means the price of pigs goes up. And the price of pigs goes up, the price of a lot of things go up. And it means inflation is going up. So you might have a problem where today you have 5% unemployment. Wonderful. And you have 6% growth. Oh my God, you're growing really great. But your inflation, let's say, goes to 7%. That's terrible. Because that means your prices are going up faster than your economy. So you want to hit this target here. But you might start in a situation like this, and you want to try to adjust the inflation. Okay, great. Let's adjust inflation here. But that means I'm going to hurt things over here. So by trying to reduce this number, I actually increase this number, which is a bad thing. Now I have less people have jobs, 8% jobs. So and then that also means since more people don't have jobs, the economy falls to say 5%. So you're constantly trying to adjust. If your numbers are within a reasonable range, you're okay. But those numbers, if one of them gets out of control, you have to deal with it. But that means you're going to affect the other ones. It's a really big problem to deal with. So that took about an hour. I guess that's about enough. That is a messy looking paper right there, isn't it? I hope you get kind of just the basic brand idea. That's just the overall idea. Next is like, okay, let's look at this model here and talk about each piece and go into it and connect it all together. But at least hopefully you have just a kind of general overview of the whole thing. And I think that kind of ends it for me. That's kind of all I want to say. That was an hour. So I hope that kind of makes sense for everyone. Guess I'm going to say I'm done. If you want to go, bye-bye. I recorded this. I'll try to make something better later. I'll send it. If you have any questions, I'll hang out and I'll answer your questions. But other than that, I hope that kind of puts together. You have a quiz tomorrow that kind of talks about these general ideas. It's not very deep ideas, but just kind of these basic connections. And then also the stuff about Keynes and Hayek. That stuff will come in important later, because when you're trying to solve these problems, Are you talking about this and are you focused on this part? Or are you really, well, I don't have red anymore. Are you focused on the short run and then focusing on that part? That's kind of a big impact on how you solve problems because one, if you connect the dots here, one has a very different in relationship with inflation as this one does over here. Okay, I guess that that ends it.